As I'm sure everybody's aware by now, over the weekend, Donald Trump gave a speech during a rally where he not only predicted that there would be a, quote, bloodbath in this country if he were not reelected, a claim that, by the way, has a lot of people trying to decipher what exactly he was talking about, but he also said that of undocumented immigrants, he said, quote, "I don't know if you can call them people." And as I've repeatedly said, you look throughout human history at some of the atrocities committed by other human beings, it always starts with dehumanizing the other side. And saying that you can't call these people people, that's about as dehumanizing as you can get. So these comments obviously erupted a firestorm that continues right now. But what is interesting to me is that you do have a gaggle of conservatives out there, including Elon Musk on social media, trying to defend Trump's comments about the bloodbath, saying that, of course, he was only referring to the auto industry. And even Lauren Boebert on Sunday came out and said, "They're really doing the bloodbath hoax now? The dishonesty of the media is only going to get worse and worse as this election season goes on. Trump is running against a spoiled turnip. This kind of trickery is literally all they have." So, as I said, plenty of conservatives defending it. But at least some conservatives have enough of a brain to understand that this is very dangerous and disgusting rhetoric. Army Iraq War veteran Peter Henlon, who is a DeSantis supporter, had this to say about it. See, Trump didn't say it's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry, and then the media cut off the words auto industry. He said, "Now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the whole country." It's fine to say Trump was talking about the auto industry, but don't change his quotes to make them more favorable. And for the record, in case you have not seen the clip, here it is. Judge for yourself.
And you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine.
So as you can see, the Iraq War veteran, again, a conservative, is right about that. Sure, Trump was kind of talking about the auto industry, but then he didn't say auto industry when he was talking about the bloodbath. He said the whole country. So it's easy to think that Donald Trump is saying this about the entire country. And here's another thing before I read more of these quotes from other conservatives. I do want to point out that this is going to become the new catchphrase for Donald Trump. We're going to see this pop up more and more in rallies. He'll say, "Oh, I predicted a bloodbath. They don't like when I say bloodbath. They get all worked up. They take it out of context." Mark my words, right here, right now, you will see him start doing that. He will say it more because he knows it gets him headlines. You heard it here first, folks. Back to some of the conservatives who were disgusted. Conservative attorney George Conway had this to say about Trump's comments. "There's some commentary on here saying we should disregard Trump's bloodbath remarks last night because he was talking about potential harms to the auto industry. That is misguided. Trump may well have been referring to a bloodbath in that industry. He's sufficiently incoherent that, as is so often the case with him, it's hard to tell one way or the other what exactly he's talking about at any given moment. I'm willing to assume for the sake of argument that he was referring to cars, and it makes no difference to his malicious intent or to the danger he and his rhetoric poses. What matters is that he consistently uses apocalyptic and violent language in an indiscriminate fashion as a result of his psychopathy and correlative authoritarian tendencies, and because he's just plain evil." Here's the other thing, though. Everybody's talking about the auto industry, the bloodbath, blah, blah, blah. He literally said undocumented immigrants are not humans. Okay? We're kind of burying the lead on that if we're not talking about that dehumanizing language there. Because that, of course, is the worst part. But everybody wants to talk about bloodbath. Nobody wants to talk about the dehumanizing language that he is using so that he can get rid of these people if he gets back into the White House. Nobody's defending that on the right, by the way, either. But one Republican lawmaker, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, did have the opportunity to talk about Trump's comments this past weekend. And Bill Cassidy pointed something out that actually is smarter than what anybody else had to say, not taking away from those other comments. But Cassidy actually laid it out And he pointed out the fact that this kind of rhetoric from Donald Trump, whether he's talking about auto industry or not, doesn't matter. What it's not doing is it's not winning him any new voters. And that's the big problem with Donald Trump, because right now, his only job from now until Election Day, other than trying to stay out of prison, is winning over moderate and independent voters. 2 new polls came out on Friday, both of them with margins of error below 3%, very reliable polls that show Joe Biden once again ahead of Donald Trump. 2 polls, 1 day, good margins of error, trustworthy polls. So Trump is now running from behind, and all he's doing is alienating moderate and independent voters. Comments like this, the Bloodbath comment, whether it's talking about the auto industry or not, is not going to win him a single voter that's on the fence. Saying that migrants are not humans is not going to win him any voter that wasn't already squarely in his camp. So Bill Cassidy, Republican senator, he understands that. He knows that Trump has one job to do, and he's failing miserably at that job of attracting new voters into his camp. And that is why comments like these are so harmful to Donald Trump. They're harmful to America, harmful to democracy, but the person that's going to suffer the most from them is Trump himself.